Well, JoyNews Checks have revealed that the longest bridge in Ghana, the Lower Volta Bridge, has been without street lights for the past 5 years. The 650-meter-long bridge on the N1 highway was tagged last year as a security zone by the Volta Regional Security Council after secessionist Trans-Volta Togoland group threatened to attack the bridge. However, JoyNews investigations reveal that the deployment of military men to the area has not addressed the concerns of public safety. I was there over the weekend, and here's a report.
Well, so we are here on the Lower Volta Bridge. It's popularly called the Sogakope Bridge. And for those of you who are not aware of this piece of critical infrastructure, it's a bridge that links and connects the national capital, Accra, to the southern parts of the Volta region. This very infrastructure we are talking about has been under threat by secessionist group Western Togoland, which earlier last year threatened to attack this bridge, and hence that prompted the deployment of a military contingent to constantly supply security to the area. However, one piece is missing out of that puzzle in solving the problem. There's completely no light here, and it's blackout here in the evening, and this has been the case for the past 5 years on the 600-meter stretch, which has seen many cars, many vehicles, many individuals, and many revelers use. And it's beginning to become a concern for residents here in Sogakope. For those of you who are not aware of the area, it's in the southern parts of the Volta region, and where we are now stretches all throughout into the town itself. But you can come with me just to have a feel of how people with us here walking and using this area do not have any access to lights. They do not know what's in the dark out there, and you can just come along with me to have a feel of what's happening here. So there are some railings here. Initially, we understand that these railings never used to be, and in fact some cars used to veer off the road into the river, but that has been addressed. What's the bigger problem here is that these cars that you see pass by could just run into anybody because there's simply no street light here on this critical piece of stretch. And it's the same story, if you could just come with me, throughout the whole 600-meter, and residents are calling for action. In fact, let's speak to some of the residents and try and understand what their concerns are, particularly as there are growing reports of cars knocking down individuals on this piece of stretch, and also the accompanying concern about security.
Well, a lot of reaction has been greeting this. I've been engaging Member of Parliament for South Tone, Kobla Mensa Woyome, who says that all will be done to ensure that the Lower Volta Bridge is back to safety. Of course, he's been touching on some other issues developing in the South Tone constituency.
Yes, about the Sogakope Bridge. I want to draw some basis before we build it up. You realize that the highways, in considering the building of their bridges on the highways, do not factor in having street lights on them. And so if you scan around the country, you will never see any bridge with street lights on them. Sogakope Bridge is one of them. It never had street lights until I came as Member of Parliament in 2009. And then I had the privilege, by the grace of God, to be invited and be part of the Tochubeza, celebrated by the people of Sokpe. And as part of the celebration and activities, there are divings into the river and all that. And you'll see a lot of the youth doing that. And may he so rest in peace, the former president, Jerry John Rawlings, also was invited to that same event. And the event ran through to the night. And at the time, there was no light on the bridge. But you could see people actively engage in one, celebration and the other, and diving and all that. And so, through conversation, we realized that, look, it will be fine to have street lights on the bridge. That was how it all started. So that at least it enhances, security, protection, and of course, the beauty, because we also consider the fact that we were fast becoming a tourist destination. We have several hotels, resorts, and all the. So this night vision, I mean, it will be very beautiful, seeing that people will want to at least associate with. So that will probably attract a little more people. So that was how it all started. So then we expanded the scope of the whole street light project, that it should not just be limited to the bridge. And that if you look at the distance from Kutame being the main entry point to the Soakope and beyond, the whole entire street was dark. And so we needed to then see how we could have lights along the entire stretch. And then within the Soakope township also, and then going towards the Adidome Highway, Gagopo onwards, then like Sugasko Road, Cisneros Road, and then onwards also to the hospital and beyond. And so we quickly said, okay, let's award. And that was the first contract I awarded from the MP's Government Fund, and also from other private sources together to One Bay Electric Limited.
That's a private company.
Private company, right, in Soakope, to get the street lights from Botame down to Soakope Township and beyond. So that project kicked off. Right. Minus the bridge.
Okay. Why?
No, because you couldn't go onto the bridge. The bridge was quite sensitive, and you know, we need to know what load you want to put on it, the stress level and all that. So the technicalities and all that, you need to involve the highways, the authorities. And so that was how the engagement with the highway started. And His Excellency, the former president, may so rest in peace, had a chat with Joe Girisu then, who was the Minister for Roads and Highways. And then we also moved in, continued with the discussions and negotiations, and to highways, and they agreed.
And this was which year?
Oh, that was in around 2010. Yeah.
But afterwards, did you get results?
Yes, we got the results.
Okay.
We got the results.
What then happened?
So that was how the bridge got light through one contractor called Johnson, and it was so beautiful. And the way they did it, they can't continue to manage it. And then the assembly also didn't have any budget line for managing those lights and all that. So I elected myself to be doing that. Managing means you have to replace bulbs when they go off, switches, probably you have to replace them when they blow and stuff like that. So I engaged a group of youth, some among them electricians. So that at least let's do the pro bono job, where anytime we are called upon as a replacement, I will always bring the lights. Right. I will always get the lights in, get the accessories and everything in, and then they can then do it, and then maybe small things to just make them happy. Right. And so led by one gentleman called Kobla Alloy. So he also mobilized, and they were doing, and effectively we always had light on the bridge. And it was so beautiful. I mean, it was something that we all appreciated and all that. So it got to a point when the insults started on one particular local radio station, as if the MP had been giving money for that job, and he pocketed it. And he only gathered some few people to be doing what they were doing, and so on and so forth.
You were insulted?
I'm telling you, terrible. And it was just internal. It was an internal thing. This same group of guys who were doing that from one local radio station, it was terrible. And if you go there, they will tell you. And well, I was able to soak. What were some of the insults? So the insults were as if whatever good we were doing, so far as the light on the bridge was concerned, it was like, oh, he has pocketed money.
So I'm very curious about this. Where were you getting the funds from to repair and to maintain all of these street lights? Where exactly was the funding coming from?
The only thing was that, you see, like I said, so were out of pocket. Because look, one bulb, two bulbs off, and I called my guy, Charlie, what do we do? Maybe I have some bulbs already in stock, so quickly get these 2-3 bulbs. Let's move in there. After sorting things out, Charlie, you should take this. I mean, it was like fun to ensure that we were keeping the place okay, because we needed to keep the lights on every evening. You see, and also you needed to have some dedicated people who will be manning and protecting the switch, so that when it's about 6 o'clock, somebody moves in there and put it on. And it must be done in such a way that it should be totally hidden and away from people who probably might be interested in seeing the whole place dark. Because you should know that there are others who are interested in ensuring that the place is dark for their own negative activities. So all of that were taken into consideration. And so people dedicated without pay, okay, and then we're doing some of these things. But you see, I soaked the insults without any problem. But the people who were doing the work felt, no, enough. It's enough.
So they left.
They left. They wouldn't attend to it. So you call them again and say, oh, Charlie, let's look at this. They will not bother. They just, let's look at, so one bulb going off, another bulb going off, another bulb going off. I said, look, this one, let's see what we could do. Assembly, adamant, it's like there was no money. I mean, they were having challenges with funds. Okay, so what do we do? It was like it went on and on and on. And it's very risky to go onto the bridge and try to go armed there. You could easily fall into the river or anything at all could happen. So there were guys.
So the initial lights that were fixed, it means it was above the bridge. Yeah. It was on top of the bridge.
They brought in vehicles
to fix it.
From Accra. The contractor brought vehicles which had this hydraulic system to pick the people up, and they were able to do all of that. And they've gone back. And so you can't easily bring those vehicles in each time. You have 1 or 2 bulbs out of maybe 23 or more, whatever to be fixed. So the guys who were doing that found a way. They found a strategy and a nice way, and they were doing it. They would lose the entire pole, bring it back down, replace the bulb, and then take it back, and then tighten the whole thing back. So they found a way, and so we're managing that whole thing. I was so happy about it. But you see, the insult was why they also said no. So what I told them was that, okay, now go to the assembly and see if somebody can normalize your work and give you a routine, like a contract, so that you can be managing maintenance fee or something. Right. It never worked. By the time we would say the assembly was ready with funds to get that put in place, we were out of office.
You lost power?
Yes. The new government came in 2007, and it was quite difficult to really push for that to happen. Meanwhile, we're losing the bulbs, the lights were going off and off and off. And then by the time we could say Jack, everything was off, and so the entire bridge became very dark. Then, you know, the bad guys would by the time I realized, they started cutting cables, taking metal parts away, and they were just cannibalizing, you know, parts. And
so basically, the street light you had fixed was dissipated by this.
That was how it happened, and it was. I mean, it was so internal. I mean, that was what happened. Okay, so I've been thinking about now, how do we get this thing done again? Discussions still with the highways. They will tell you they are tight with budget. These things, they will have to look at how easy they can come back and do something like that. But it might not be the same formula. Because I suggested to them that, look, we will not do anything cable. Let's try and see if we can do something solar, so that at least the light comes on itself and goes off here. Itself, and then with the LED system now, at least it wouldn't be that the bulbs going off, you know, so frequent as the previous. So we discussed, but it's all about money. And then
you feel the Ghana Highways Authority is cash strapped, and that's why perhaps they are not able to.
The point is that, you see, right from the word go, they will tell you that, you see, it's like it's not really their. None of those bridges across the country are connected with light, but we want it because we were the beauty of the whole area, and then of course this.
But the point is, if you look at the area, there's complete darkness, and visibility actually reduces at night. If you compare that to, for instance, the Adomi Bridge, the concern is that's more of a lit area as compared to the Lower Volta Bridge. So that's really a matter of concern to you, isn't it?
No, right? I mean, the point is that, do they have lights on those bridges?
But at least if you're moving at night.
No, but here also, there's nothing blocking your visibility, actually, if you look at it. The way it is, if you're at one end, you can, I mean, you can almost see the other end without any impediments as such. What it is that we the locals are making a relevant case now. To them, they are not really considering it. But we, the locals, think we need it. It's urgent.
You feel you need it?
Yeah. I mean, why would we have gone into it in the first place? I mean, we made a very good reason. We presented a good argument based on which they considered that, okay, at least out of the lot, this one should be considered.
And I'm glad that you're saying, as
so the local, because we are also pushing the fact that, look, in the night, the whole area, when it's late, I mean, my brother, you can equate whatever you're seeing to maybe what you go out to, maybe you see in New York or whatever. You see similar, the beauty of it. Okay, we want to attract investment. We want to make the place a tourism hub. People can come and have fun and some joy. So far as that is concerned, that project will surely happen.
And I'm glad that you're raising that point, because some say you are the member of parliament, so it presents you with a good opportunity to make a case even in parliament and try and advocate for that.
That's
why was there a delay on your part as member of parliament to push for it?
That we have done.
You've done that?
Oh, yes. We have done. We have spoken about them. We've discussed it. And right from the time, even for the ministry and then highways to even agree and have it even as a model, you know, to maybe with time replicate same at other places. Right. So it is something that is, the standard has been set. It's the management of it that somehow went wrong. But again, it doesn't stall it. We will have to bring it back, maybe in a different form, such that this time around we can be assured that yes, we can have a longer in terms of its.
Okay, so what you're saying now is if the Ghana Highways Authority does not immediately put in place its own measures, you may institute some interim measures in the coming days?
That is because I just told you that the cost.
The cost is a challenge. It's quite huge.
Yes,
providing
because you see,
and
also the engineering in this case.
Right.
Because you see, I'm also mindful of the fact that you are going to put a load on the bridge. If you put the aggregate weight of all the poles you are going to be mounting, I mean, I'm sure the engineers will tell you, they don't want to probably put their stress. Already the vehicles and all the others that are moving, and this one is going to be a permanent load also on the bridge. So that is why you cannot even go onto the bridge and begin to do anything without their consent, because they have to come in and then be able to assess the situation and say that, okay, this is doable, this is not doable. Even the solar must go with an accumulator. Because you see, we've done solar today. Because I remember we did, apart from all the street lights that we connected, we also came back and did solar from Vume and ended at the solar runabout. Okay, and that stretch, we mounted our 50. And then deep down the base of each of those solar, we buried 2 big accumulators in there to be able to take the power, store it, and then bring the lights on in the evening. And it was so beauty. I mean,
but just that the bridge, technically speaking, you would need more hands to deal with it.
More engineering ideas in such a way that we do not hurt.
Okay, because we have other matters to deal with.
All I want to say in conclusion is this. It is not going to be like this. Discussions are going on. The DC, myself, are talking. We are seeing how we can best do it, because this will not repeat the same cable and this again. Because remember, we can't dig on a concrete and bury pipes with cables. That will, like, you are destroying the structure of the bridge. You can only lay, and then the cables be seen bare, everybody, or even if you put it in a pipe, people would know what it is. And the bad guys can always come back and cut it. Are you getting it? So that is also, it didn't work. And so we will have to find another way. What do we do? And that one, I leave it for the engineers. And so these are the ways we are thinking around and see how we can still have our lights and then be able to also be able to prolong the bridges, the lifespan of the bridge. And so these are all things that you want to look at. So we have not left it to be in that state. We are talking, and discussions are still ongoing.
I like the fact that discussions are still ongoing, because if you look at that stretch, it's also critical to regional integration, for instance. It's an international corridor. Some say connects Ghana to other parts of West Africa as well. So a lot of haulage vehicles and cars from Accra use that stretch a lot. That gives it a national nature. But
in this case, you know something.
Right.
I am situating
Right.
the entire workings, the bridge inclusive, on the fact that Southtown, Sugakope in particular, is becoming a tourism destination.
Right. Yes, and I was also making the point. Right. Okay.
And I want to improve on the local economy. And right from the word go, since 2009, the advocacy has been come in, invest, and it's been ongoing. The numbers, so far the resorts, the hotels and all that are going on. And then the number of visitations, people coming in from even Togo, from the other Eastern Corridor to come and take a rest and go back. It's growing. Okay, so
precisely why I'm raising the point.
So it's something that it's seriously on our minds to make sure whatever we can do, even through PPP, it may not be government alone, but for the fact that when it comes to the bridge, you cannot discount the parts of government.
Right, and that's why I was going there. The fact that government ought to act immediately because of the national nature of the infrastructure, and we know that this is all happening at a time where the Regional Security Council deployed some military men there over some secessionist threats and all of that. So it's of national importance. What's your appeal to the president on this now, knowing that at least your party is not in power, he can do something about this stretch?
Yeah, I mean, just as it was discussed on the floor, and a couple of times also with the minister and a few other key stakeholders, I think the bridge and then Sugakope, in its entirety, need to be given a special look, so that our needs are really looked at, because any investment in that area is adding on, progressively to push the GDP of the country forward aggregately, because you see, you are seeing many more interested in coming in to do direct investments.
And we know, and what's more also scary is that this particular bridge that we're talking about some years ago was under threat by the secessionist group, the Togoland group, which resulted in the deployment of some military personnel to the area by the Regional Coordinating or Security Council. So it appears that urgent measures or steps have to be taken to deal with this matter. You agree?
Tourism, for instance, is one. People are coming to do some set up their manufacturing base in ceramics, currently as we speak, are coming all the way from Vietnam. They've been in the country once already. We've had some discussions, and they are going to go back maybe next week and then come back again. And the whole place, very soon, maybe in some 10 years to come, I know that bridge, we will probably have to find a way of expanding it and all that. But I am aware that government is dualizing the road from Pong down to Aplau. So I'm believing that there may be another second bridge to be constructed in addition to this, just to be able to lower or reduce the volume or weight, whatever it is. So the design, I mean, I'm here to look at it anyway. But so it will be good for that assurance to be given to all of us. Maybe the President, His Excellency, if you're listening, the Minister for Roads and Highways. But unfortunately, he comes on the floor of Parliament to answer our questions on roads. He gives us target dates when we should be expecting some work on them. And they never happen. And they never happen. So, in the
so you're even doubtful if he'll be able to do
it. Unfortunately, we may be having a little doubt, here and there. But at least we just need a little bit of assurance that all probably have it in plan.
Right.
Yes, so that when resources are available, then they can easily come move in
and I'm glad that you're even touching on the issue about roads, for instance. You are MP for the South Tong constituency, and as Member of Parliament, issues have also emerged in that community about the nature of roads. For instance, you move towards the Tefle community and some parts as well. Some roads are untarred, and the community members, just recently we're hearing some are threatening that they may be forced to come to petition stakeholders in Accra on the nature of their roads and all of that. How much of this, how much of a concern is it to you as Member of Parliament, and what steps are you taking to ensure that together with the DC for the area and other stakeholders, you fix the problem?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the point is this. I have virtually spoken about every road virtually, if not all. I mean, almost every road. I've really touched on every road and discussed details of it on the floor of Parliament with the roads minister. And the Tefler Road, the township roads, the Agava, those roads were even ongoing before the MPP government came to power.
And also, what's the situation is that we know that it's not just about the bridge, but the entire conversation around roads in your constituency. As a member of parliament for the area, are you concerned about the road situation, how bad and deplorable they are? For instance, we've been to the Teple community over the weekend. Some of the residents say they would have to come to Accra to petition government on their concerns. So are you concerned about this, and what are you doing as a member of parliament to ensure that the situation is resolved?
Unfortunately, they were stalled, along the line because the
government is not continuing with the project?
The certificate that was raised, the initial certificate that was raised by the contractor, government is unable to pay.
Have you asked why? Have you made attempts?
We've discussed about this road about 3 times on the floor of Parliament. Where else do you expect me to take the issue to? Because I know anytime we discuss this matters on the floor of Parliament, the president's own minister is the one giving me, who is also a cabinet minister, is still giving me a position on the roads. And so I believe those positions are reflective of the fallout from cabinet. And so if we should be given a timeline when a particular road will be tackled, and the time comes and nothing happens, yeah, it means the government has not been fair. And that has been the issue consistently. When you talk of Tefler Road, the same thing. I've spoken about it. I'll even make available some of the sound bites so you can understand and appreciate some of the things.
So promises were made?
On the floor. Promises were made on the floor of Parliament. Where else? As a lawmaker, and for my lobbying, it is there. Okay? Because you see, formally, I would have just driven or walked or go to the offices of these ministers and colleagues. I mean, we are all colleagues. And then discuss about these things. And maybe by understanding one another, something gets done. Now, you go, you discuss, you give it a timeline, nothing happens. Your constituent think that you're not doing much. So the only place where you think you can also push your matter is on the floor. And I have done that consistently.
Right. And it's good that you're touching on the point that constituents think you're not doing much, because I was in the constituency
because the issue is this. You see, the issue is this. You take the matter to the floor of Parliament. You see, you yourself must agree that the member of Parliament is not given a budget line to construct roads. Neither is he constructing to do any of such development projects. Okay, and so because we don't have the resources and the funds, and that is not, in fact, the core business of the member of Parliament. But when we talk about lobbying to bring in extra resource to complement what the assembly ought to be doing, because then they are the forerunners of development in the districts. They are the people who have the resources derived from the central government to do and undertake all this. And so whatever I do as an intervention is just to complement.
Could it not be the case that you lack the lobbying skills?
Oh, you see, and that is a very good question, because at least the beauty of it is that people have the opportunity now to weigh 2 regimes. Regime 1 under NDC, the regime 2 under MPP. Then you ask, regime 1, how was it? How was the lobbying? Were we seeing effectively things done? Were we seeing the roads coming?
Was it happening?
Yes. The water projects, yes. The school projects, the beauty of it. The electrification projects, bountiful. I mean, all of these things were happening. I get what I'm saying.
But now it's
the school, the clinics, and you can name them the CHIPS compounds or the health centers. They were happening. They were happening. I mean, human capacity building. I mean, equal access into some of the opportunities that being policies rolled out by government. Yes, we're seeing the youth gaining opportunity. Yeah, gaining opportunities into the National Youth Employment Program. There was things happening. They were not things that people could hear. Maybe government changed the policy and that nothing trickles down to my area. No, there were people taking advantage. They were having it. And then when it comes to businesses, in terms of small finance, of a market woman's business and through Maslock, they were getting it. Today, nothing is happening. All these things were things that were happening then. And then there's a sudden cut because of change of regime. And so now, it's not like you're not asking. You are going, you ask, you talk, you discuss. And you get a nod. Yes, it's going to happen. But, well, the issue is that nothing happens.
And unfortunately, your constituents feel that it's all your fault. In fact, I was in the constituency over the weekend. Some of them say, well, we've not seen the member of parliament. He hasn't told us what the problem is, so we feel he's not working in our interest. What would you say to someone who walks up to you to say, Honorable Member of Parliament, I feel that you're not helping our cause as the people of the Sugakope the South Tongue constituency? What would you say to such a person who walks up to you to question your ability to deliver?
They will. I mean, the point is that when they come, I have always listened and paid attention and educated them. And I have created a number of opportunities to interact with them. The only thing I'll tell most of them to is that they should avail themselves anytime they hear the MPs going to have town hall meetings. They should avail themselves, because that is there that they get to hear what is current as an opportunity for them to probably take advantage of. And those who attend such meetings get to hear at the first that, yes, what really is going on. As I speak to you now, this weekend, I'm going to engage several communities again. And so I do it constantly and quite often. And so, but the place is big. One problem about Southern is that Southern is big. You're looking at about 300-400 communities. I mean, it's huge.
What,
so, yeah, you have a lot of town, villages. I mean, everybody wants to see the member of parliament. And I keep telling them that, okay, the issue is that even if I should leave parliament and the station in the constituency and try to say, okay, a day I must be in a particular community, the whole 365 days, I wouldn't have exhausted visiting all the villages. That is, if I should boycott parliament and say I want to just be in South Tongue and go to one village a day.
Because it would have taken you over 300 days to achieve
I'm telling you, you wouldn't have even exhausted visiting all. It's big.
So it's not the case that you're not, well, let me use that word, competent. It's not the case.
Well, I don't know. That may be subjective.
Right.
But then the point is this. I mean, I keep asking. I mean, you see, the thinking of whoever in that line may be those who simply wouldn't see anything good as good and would always think that everything is bad just because they want a person out. And I want to tell you that some of the things there you see, there are those that internal guys or gentlemen, whether they are really internal or they are not, or they are there as internal, but then really for a purpose and an agenda to probably run the system down or whatever.
You feel some of your detractors are just against
No, but they are few. The point is that they are few. The point is they are few.
What's motivating them to do that?
And they are in every society.
Right. But what's motivating them to do that?
And they are in every society. Right. Why? I mean, the point is that you cannot have it's not everybody that will like you. It's not everybody that will like you. There are those that simply you just don't want to see you. But you have to accommodate them. And I have accommodated them. The important thing is that to educate the rest, majority, about them and their activities to the extent that they must not take them serious. And I believe that is what needs to be done and be done quickly because the exposure will have to be done. And that is why I am embarking on a very vigorous, more town hall meetings to just, and one thing about it is that I go to the ground and it's face to face. And I always, for instance, want to have those people on board at the meeting to even ask questions in front of the very people that they go to misinform. They don't come. Because it is always announced. It is always announced. People, it's everybody, please come. The MP is coming. You will be here today.
So it appears you have detractors. Are you worried that increasingly they are criticizing you for nothing that you have done, and that it may also affect your ability to deliver development in the area. And then finally, will you still run?
I'm going to contest again.
Yeah, okay, right. Well, finally, I need to ask that big question. Will you still run as Member of Parliament for the area in the next elections if the opportunity presents itself? Because obviously you have a vision. What's that vision, and do you think that you've achieved it? If not, is that why you'll be contesting in the next elections?
Whatever you think you know or have, even against me or probably anything, just come, say it.
They don't come.
They don't come. But immediately you are done and gone, then it's like they are just like how Jesus Christ described. After planting good seeds, you go sleep. The bad ones come in and then put in the bad ones. Why? So that at least they get to destroy. But they will not succeed, because this is not the first time. This is not the second time. This is not the third time. And they've always and consistently been at it. But we will run and run faster than them.
But there's a danger also to the party, because that's a seat which belongs to the NDC and not just you as an individual.
Absolutely.
So at the party level, if you're saying, well, this may be stemming from some internal wrangling, are you appealing, therefore, from here to some of the leadership, regional leadership of your party, to take steps to unite your ranks, or at least try and bring both feuding factions together, or whatever it is that's happening within your constituency?
Well, the issue is this. I think there's been so much out there and known already, okay? And I wouldn't even love to discuss party matters in public. And so I think it's all fine and well. Are you getting it? And it's not so peculiar about us alone, but we'll deal with it. Whatever.
And expect more in our subsequent bulletins. But for now, you're still watching the polls on the JoyNews channel. We'll return shortly after this break. Please stay.